Welcome to Taranaki Foodies with Area 41.
The tastiest food show on the Most FM.
Of course, music, because we're the radio show. We're recording our show live on the Facebook page, Taranaki Foodies with Area 41, so please go and peek behind the scenes. And also, we are recording on YouTube and Twitter. If you prefer these channels, please follow our omni-channel radio show. It's us, Olena Williams and Warwick. Hello, Warwick.
Hello, Olena.
Very good. We are local foodies and the most FM broadcasters. And our videographers today are Olly and Nathan Griffith. And our guest today is epic, James Phillips from Delistar. Hello, James.
Hi, what an introduction. I wouldn't say epic, but you know, we'll go with it.
I'm very excited about having you in the studio because your career is so diverse, it's so rich, and there are so many stories behind it, I'm sure, and I'm so excited to hear them.
Sure, yeah, you get a bit of a few stories when you've been cooking for 30 years. Kitchens are, you know, the thing that dreams are made of and sometimes nightmares. So not plenty happening in my life so far.
I'm excited too because Delistar's been around for so long and right through all the different food trends and catering trends that we've seen in New Plymouth, so it should be a good show.
Yes, and we all have relations to what you do because you did catering for both Warwick and me separately, and we all have really good memories about it. So how about we listen to the first music piece? It's Michael Franti and Spearhead, Red Beans and Rice.
You like Michael Franti? Is this your choice?
Yeah.
Right.
Originally, I had the first choice because it was chef and catering song, but I think it's always much better to go with the choice of the guest.
Sure.
Yeah. I'll just consider that closer.
Sure.
So I think you were on the most before I was involved. I've been involved for about 9 years or so.
Yep.
So it must be going back.
Yeah. I don't know what happened actually. They got a new station manager and they kind of weren't that interested. This was before your time, and weren't that interested in continuing it. Or something.
So when were you on?
It was for a good time. When I first started Delistar 15 years ago, say, what date would that have been? 2006.
Oh, yeah.
And then, for a few years, six
Yeah,
years.
I definitely remember it. Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was on the breakfast show, and it was the general first. Then it was Dave Haskell, and then Jack.
Oh, so you were through 3 breakfast hosts.
Yeah, there you go.
I think what happened to generals before my time, there was some politics there. But
Yeah, there always was with the general.
Yeah.
We won't mention the general probably. Yeah.
Last I heard, he was working in mining in Western Australia.
Yeah, he is still doing it. Yeah. That's right, yeah.
Do you still keep in touch with them?
No.
Life, everyone goes their own
exactly.
way.
And
Facebook's handy though.
Yeah. Dave comes and goes, but he'll always be a most legend.
Yeah.
And Jack decided it was time to move on during just before the lockdown. I haven't seen Jack.
But he's still at the coast though, I think.
Is he?
No, I think it is.
Oh, you've seen Jack?
Just not sure if he's got
some notes,
I've got a feeling he is too, yeah. Got a mutual friend, Ralph.
Oh, yeah, I know Ralph.
Ralph.
Yeah. So when I was at Inglewood, Ralph used to do our cooking classes. And he was at Feats.
This is so cool. Everyone does classes at a certain point of their life.
It's the New Plymouth.
That's
It's
right.
that size.
Ralph was. Do you know Ralph?
I think so.
He was, and then he went to the deli, the deluxe diner.
Deluxe diner, yeah.
Deluxe diner. He was very good with the kids. Just very patient, very forgiving. We used to take these kids who they couldn't last a day at school.
He's good with that.
Something else, and he was great with them.
He used to operate the place by Back Beach.
Yeah. That was
kitchen.
Feats, and then they moved
Feats.
yeah. They moved to Witt, where they still are, but I don't know. I don't think they do any cooking because Witt does so much hospo now. And John, you know John from Britain's.
John Hudson.
John Hudson, he does a lot of hospo as well. So we're not short of choices when we come to spend our star money.
That's right. Oh, good. That's good.
Yeah,
That's why it wasn't always like
No,
that.
and I'm right into it. I've got 36 girls on barista right now.
Wow, that's
with
awesome.
John. Yeah.
Oh, thank
Going to the
you.
influx of baristas
Yeah,
suddenly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Especially if no people coming into the country.
Yeah.
You know?
Actually,
That's true.
daughter would be very envious of our facilities that were just opened this year because they weren't there when she was there. But we've got a full cafe that the students practice on.
In Sacred Heart.
That's cool, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
That's down the bottom there by the restaurant.
No, it's I don't know if you remember the old. You know when you walk in, there's sort of a block to the right and a block to the left.
Yes.
Sort of in the feet. So in the left hand, that's all been stripped out. And both sides have all been redone.
Oh,
So we're in the middle of the bottom down there.
we Advent used to be.
Yeah, just further,
Oh,
yeah. They were computer rooms in the last
Okay, yeah.
iteration.
Your poppy's there on Sunday for the big sing.
Ooh.
Do you want to go, Dad? Oh. Another.
Of course I do. I want
Yeah,
to go wherever you
yeah,
go. Welcome back to Taranaki Foodies and Area 41 with Olena Williams, Warwick Foy, and our epic guest, James Phillips from Delistar. We just listened to a song called Red Beans and Rice. Is that a thing?
Oh, I think it is in Creole cooking, and yeah. So I'm a big fan of Spearhead and Michael Fronto, and he's a big fan of New Zealand. Actually, he's got a couple of homes here, I believe, and spends a little time here. Yeah.
You started to cook when you were relatively young, a child, basically, and then there was no celebrity cooking culture. So how did you discover your passion for food?
I think back in the late 80s, you had to cook everything from scratch or find out how to do it. You couldn't go to the supermarket and have 20 varieties of pesto. If you wanted to taste it, you had to find a recipe and make it.
Or create a recipe?
Or it's right, wing it, which goes a long way in kitchens, we all know. So I think probably the discovery, and then I was fortunate enough to do back then it was Taranaki Polytech, a hospitality course, and wasn't sure what side of it. I was thinking of the tourism side of it, but then found out I was quite confident in the kitchen. And I was lucky enough to get a little placement thing at the Devon Hotel then.
Oh, wow.
And so Peter Tennant took me on.
Yeah,
Took the
Peter
plunge.
Tennant, the
What a
very
champion.
powerful figure, a legend
Yeah.
of Taranaki. Yeah.
So I was fortunate enough to start my career with Peter and the crew at the Devon Hotel. And it was a la carte back then.
What was the restaurant called?
It was ooh, help me out, Pete. I'm not sure, but it was a la carte back then. I remember my chef was Martin James, and we actually conceived, the team of us conceived the Devon seafood smorgasbord, which it turned into then, and of course evolved into marbles today.
Yeah.
But
So we have a selection of different medals and awards from you. I believe they're not all of them because you've been around and you've been quite rewarded for all your work. And one of the oldest one, it looks quite kind of dark, like it has been antique, should I say? And this is from 1992. What is this for?
that was when I was an apprenticeship at the Devon, and
yeah.
the pastry chef at the time, Tim Woodford, was sending up, I think via courier actually there's a funny story to that, but it would take it all day. But anyway, we sent some static dishes up, which is pretty much on looks, not taste, as you know. And I think that was my first entrance, was an Easter ghetto or something. So,
ghetto.
yeah.
Wow.
So, and then from then on, I didn't really do much competition cooking, and then started going up to the nationals in Auckland, and was quite successful 10 years ago at a few of them. Yeah.
Well, you're so modest. I was quite successful 10 years ago, but I can see two shiny, bright, yellow, golden medals. What are they for?
Yeah, they were for a couple of dishes that I got at a national level that I won. One was the duck dish, and we had an hour to debone and create a duck dish.
It's really hard in 1 hour because duck needs a bit of a rendering
It
of
is.
fat and stuff.
Yeah, that's right. But it wasn't a mystery box, so we had plenty of time I had plenty of time to practice the dish, mainly in the middle of the night. So you within that hour, you achieve a lot because
Once you know what you're doing.
exactly.
Yeah. And what about the second one?
Second one is vegetarian. I won the Vegetarian Open, and that was with using mushrooms. Yes, step backwards.
Wow.
And this came up a couple of weeks ago, but obviously chefs over their career add to their repertoire. Most chefs do continuously. But how would you describe back then when you were winning these things, or even now, your specialty in cooking?
I actually love all aspects of cooking. I love the patisserie side of it, where the precision and the measuring out and all that. I also love the savoury side of it, where like you get a stock and you just use that stock for weeks, a little bit, and then just keep on adding to it. I just love the depth of flavour of the savoury dishes. So yeah, both.
And the second question has come up also in the past, is that we hear, especially in education, don't go into hospo, pay's bad, kitchens are hot, the hours are terrible, the staff are crazy, a lot of negativity. But I constantly meet on this show people who are just utterly committed and passionate to their profession.
And happy.
And happy.
Yeah.
So,
I just love cooking. It takes its toll on your body sometimes. Like your feet get terribly sore, and with cooking, there's always something to do. So there's not much downtime. You see other people having breaks and stuff like that, but it's just in the kitchen. But it's also the culture as well. I'm not saying it's the right thing or a good thing, but I just think if you enjoy it, you don't want to stop doing it, really.
I guess it's, I'm reading the Anthony Bourdain book for that.
This one?
Yes.
Oh
Kitchen
my
Confidential.
God! I read this too, but I read it in electronic version. It's nice to see it.
That's a classic.
What a book, eh?
But if you're interested in, and I'm not a chef, I pretend to be, but if you're interested in cooking and hospitality, it's a must read. And I'm only a quarter of the way through, but what's coming through there is that it's in his, well, he's dead now, but it was in his genes and his blood and his family, that cooking is what he did. So even if he didn't like it, which at times he didn't, he just did it because that's who he was.
This is such a classic because it shows like an inner insight of a very successful person who fought his own demons, and probably was a cliche, a lot of cliches that other people experience as well. But we noticed that you brought so many books with this, and one of them have the Most FM sticker, and the Most FM sticker doesn't look new. So tell us the mystery of this book.
It's a bit like it's a bit of a flashback being in the studio here. I was fortunate enough to have a cooking show on the Most FM. Again, this is 10 years ago, and it was called The C Word. And that was with a few of the DJs, which was great fun. And it's great to hear the voice of at least one of them around still. So we used to have a shorter version of like your show, and invite anyone that's interested in food and then share recipes and have a chat. I love being back at the Most.
Oh, awesome. It's like returning the whole cycle back, and you've been at the Bell Street, and now you're in your new studios in town, and it's awesome to have you. So I hope you'll come again, bring some more of your friends, and we can have a lot of chats about what you're doing now and what other perspectives. So what is this book about? It looks black. It doesn't look very...
This is one of my favorite cookbooks.
Okay.
This one is actually Mosselman's World. It's Anton Mosselman, and each country, he does dishes from a few different countries. Oh no, actually from pretty much each country and each continent in the world. And it's one of my go-to books. With Delistar, we do quite a few themed menus. If it's Eastern, I pick up this book. If it's South American, I pick up this book. So that's why I brought it along. It's one of my cherished books. It's called Mosselman's World. As I say, written by Anton Mosselman, who of course was famous for running the Savoy for so many years.
Looks like 1980s.
The book's 1990s, but it's well used. It looks like it's back from the 50s or something.
You just mentioned one of the hosts, Dave, and I was teasing Dave yesterday because many people know he was on the Rock once.
But no, Dangerous Dave.
Dangerous Dave. And he interviewed my uncle yesterday, who's coming to town. He's a musician. And I told my uncle that he was an ex-rock DJ, actually probably our only professionally trained radio person here at the Most. And my uncle said, "Oh, is he all bollocks and baritone?"
I love that, Bollocks and Baritone. It's a good name for a radio show.
And what did you say to that?
Oh,
What can you say to that? What do you say? Yes.
Hey.
Yeah, sure.
So-
Yeah.
So, Jamie, you were working as a kitchen apprentice, you were working as a chef, head chef, tutor, caterer, and also judge at the food competitions. What is your favorite aspect of the job?
You just said it, the all-roundness.
Okay.
With cooking, I think people need to understand you don't have to just do the usual shift is 2 in the afternoon till 10 at night sort of thing, which I did for years and I loved it for years. But as you get older, sometimes you don't want to focus on those hours so much. So with cooking, one of the joys, of course, is you're always learning, and with that you can always evolve. And cooking just opens doors for anyone.
There is so much science in cooking now, like working with nitrogen or doing micro cooking or things like that. So how does it affect people on the junior level, like kitchen apprentice? What do they do now, and what did they do then?
I think every 5 years or so, cooking goes through different phases, fads, some might call it. Very important for us as chefs to at least be aware of them and keep up with them. To a degree, depend on how deep your passion is or what direction you're going in.
How do you do that, Jamie?
I think it's in our faces these days, to be honest. I think with things like MasterChef, which personally I thoroughly enjoy. I like to see. I don't like the name labeling them as master chefs so much, but that's my opinion, because in my opinion they aren't master chefs, but the dishes that they create at the end are very inspiring for me as well as a chef. But anyway, back on that, I think cooking's in everyone's blood to some degree. Everyone can either cook toast or cook a 10-course meal, so it's something that we've all got in common. But I think because of media these days, and because it's in our faces. So as far as fads and all that go, hard to avoid it.
I think it's who's your favourite celebrity chef time?
Yes.
You may have told us before.
I don't know. I've got a few actually. Yeah, I always enjoyed Gordon Ramsay. Only first and foremost, his cooking from Aubergine. His signature restaurant back in the day. Was well ahead of its time, of course, as you'd expect, a chef like that. But I always do find him very entertaining, I think, and he tries to honestly help out a lot of businesses. We've all seen the restaurant nightmares and all that sort of stuff.
What was the one where he goes into the restaurants and tries to make them better? What was that called?
Oh, that's on at the moment.
Yeah, no, I'm familiar with it.
Restaurant something.
Mm-hmm.
But he's probably, this is just my opinion, he's probably more famous for being
that's right. That's
being
right.
a great chef.
But I mean, and I love Jamie Oliver. I think he's great. His grassroots food, and I love his vegetarian stuff that he's doing at the moment.
I think Jamie. He comes across as a pretty relaxed guy, pretty genuine guy, I think. And his show that he did through Italy with the accompanying book, I just loved that. I thought it's really accessible for someone who's not a chef to be able to make some really nice food.
I think he's down to earth, and he's not trying to be bigger or better himself. He's not trying to say, "Hey, I'm celebrity. I'm doing such an ingredient that no one has access to. My onion looks better than yours," or something like that. He just uses everyday ingredients and shows people. It's like he's on a mission to make everyone better in cooking, and I appreciate that as well.
Instead of the put down, so he's actually probably the polar opposite of our friend Mr. Ramsay.
My favourite is Rick Stein.
Yeah, good old Rick. I've actually cooked for Rick before.
Oh,
yep.
Wow.
I was in Newquay in Cornwall. I ran a fine dining restaurant there called Trinance Lodge, and it was about an hour away from Padstow, where Ricky came, and he came for dinner twice. So
wow!
Twice
means that he
Contrary to what I like to believe about him, was he a complete dickhead?
No, he didn't come out to the galley, the kitchen, or anything, and say, which I was a bit bummed out about.
Yeah.
But no bad comments.
No, that's right.
And he didn't have fish.
Which is interesting. My favorite is Nigella Lawson. I like how sway she is and how wonderfully she injects sexiness into the food, because this is one of the primal instincts. We all need to eat, and we all need the other stuff. And this is important because all the primal instincts are connected, and I think that making food sexy is something that we all wish for, and we wish to eat something that we eat with the eyes first, then with the other senses, and that's what Nigella is good at. But I must admit, I'm watching Master Chefs, and there is the whole generation of new chefs arise, and some of them started new business out of being on Master Chefs. And when I went to Australia with my son, and he had an obsession with Reynolds, and we went to his cafe, and we tried like 11 desserts, and I was so full of sugar, but all of them were unique. All of them had a different signature taste, and it was absolutely amazing. So although I'm not a sweet person, but I made an exception for Reynolds restaurant. It's called Koi. So it's really interesting how we all evolve.
It throws a lot of them straight into success, really, doesn't it?
Talking about Sydney and me going to Sydney. So you became a head chef pretty early, early age of 21 or 22 or something like that.
Too early.
How did that happen?
Just did my big OE, started in Sydney, as I say, when I was 21, and started working on the North Shore, and unfortunately, the head chef was a horrid drunk, and surprise, surprise in hospitality. Anyway, the head chef was a horrid drunk, and that was when, early 90s, when things were pretty, a bit rough, and so I did the right thing and sort of alerted it to management, and it got out of control, and so he went, and then they didn't replace him, and I kind of was thrust into that at the tender age of, as I say, in my early 20s, and so stuck that out for a while, but I learned a lot then. You learn a lot about yourself, and but that's good. So I was lucky to have formal training at the very beginning with the Devon Hotel, and then straight into being head chef, where I had to pretty much learn a lot myself as well. So
baptism of fire.
Yeah, exactly.
And how did the drunkenness manifest itself? Did you have to do all the work, or was he?
That's exactly what the problem was. I was doing all the work, and he was taking all the glory.
It reminds me of faulty tappers.
Yeah.
I think it's a perfect time to listen to our second song, which is Hot and Cold by Katy Perry.
Did you get it sorted? It's hot, isn't it?
Yeah, I think
Is it on?
I did put it in the right setting, but it feels like it's still doing the hot air. Oh, it's better now, because
It's on cold. Yeah.
before it was 25.
Oh.
Someone wanted to torture it. Just how
Go
in
into the
these
kitchen.
psycho movies they change all the settings. Like you try to open it, it just opens another way, or shoes are size big or something like that.
There's no door handle.
Yeah, no door handle.
Richie texted me and said he wants you back on the list.
Oh, wow, that's made me blush. He's pretty picky too, Richie.
Yes. And you have to have a specific taste in music to be on the most, because it's very alternative.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
That's what it's all
Well,
about.
this is
It
the
really
best
is.
radio station in Taranaki, so.
It really is the only one.
Yeah.
Have you got any fixed contracts, or do you just sort of do what comes along?
I do a lot of funerals for eagers, so that's almost a fixed contract. No signing or anything, but I'm hot with them at the moment, and I love it. It's all daytime work, and it's all last minute, but it's all it's like sandwiches and stuff like that. So.
And is it varied, or is it?
No, it's pretty bog standard, and it's only like 12, 15 a head, but you might be doing it for 300 people, so it's all in the numbers. So yeah,
And that's what people, when they go to a funeral, they don't want a 3-course meal.
No,
they just want something nice.
Something nice and hot out of the oven, and
I think it's also a trend. People don't want a lot of complex dishes unless it's dining situation in a restaurant. During the day or at home, everyone is going into something that it could be considered either a fast food, but a fancier version, or finger food, because a lot of people, I've noticed now, eat with their hands, which is actually quite interesting. So we're listening to the second song. Do you want Olly to bring the
Sure, whenever. Yeah. And that's just a little spiel about the soups that we're doing at the cafe, which
So we need the utensils to eat with as well.
Ah.
They're already there.
Ollie's done his prep, mise en place.
All is good.
Um,
Very reliable worker.
My daughter is coming back to town for 3 weeks. She's at uni and she's experienced hospo dishy at Shining Peak. So if you know any work, she's keen for just some casual work for her.
Okay, because ours is more daytime. There'd be more nighttime there.
Yeah, I don't think she wants to go back there.
Oh.
No, not for there's no
Yeah.
issue. It's just been there, done that, try something else. But if they give it a work, she'll take it.
Sure. That's the next school holidays then.
No, it's this week.
Oh.
Uni holidays. I don't know how. My son's at Massey. She's at Auckland, and I'm a teacher. And none of our holidays.
I don't know why they don't line them up. Really, the uni because it'll be easy. They just have to shift it 2 weeks.
Really?
Oh.
She starts on Monday. I've got 4 weeks left. My son starts in about the time that she finishes. It's just crazy.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this was a bit of a master chef tip, actually. That's what made me think of it. Katy Perry on the Most FM. Willie's bag,
Yeah, she might be texting.
Just cancelling the arrangement. Probably the first time we're here. Katy Perry on the Most FM. Welcome back to Taranaki Foodies with Area 41. It is Olena Williams, Warwick, and our amazing guest, Jamie Phillips from Delistar. So while you were listening to this beautiful music, hot and cold by Katy Perry, which is unusual for the most, we had a wonderful conversation. And Jamie brought some food for us. We're going to try it soon and give him a roast. How about that?
Oh, thanks, guys.
So, but he's not afraid of it. He's
No,
smiling
that's right.
so far. because he was a host way back then on the Most FM, and his show was 20 minutes, and it was all about recipes and food and music as well, right?
Yeah, good times, yeah, as you guys know. Yeah.
All going back. So as a chef, you probably will go through different stages and things that you like or dislike. What is your favorite ingredient or technique at the moment?
It's winter. As we know, slow cooking. Can't go past it. I've brought along some oxtail today,
awesome.
which we're serving down at the cafe. I also run the cafe at the pools. My wife and I, we run the Rockpool Cafe, which is down at the Aquatic Centre.
Oh, awesome.
Which is great fun. We love it, and some real characters come in. It's the first time I've been out of the kitchen and doing customer service, so there's a few hairy moments, a few blue words and stuff like that, but all in good jest. I try to be funny, that's my problem. And some people don't really appreciate or don't get me, which is understandable as well.
I can relate to it because my first language is not English, and sometimes I try to be funny so hard that people don't understand what I actually mean. So it's an ongoing progress.
Yeah, we have a giggle though. Yeah. So slow cooking all the way at the moment. We're lucky in New Zealand and Taranaki that we've got all 4 seasons. So let's go with that. Use produce that's in season. Oxtail is flying out the door at our cafe at the moment.
What else is on the menu?
We've got a lot of it's good old bog standard stuff for the pools. We can't move away from hot chips and ice cream and stuff like that. But we've certainly got a blackboard with specials on, and as I say, soups the flavour of the month. So we've got 4 soups on at the moment. I've brought 2 along today. We've got an oxtail, we've got a veggie chowder, and also down there we've got a smoked tomato and bacon and basil one, and we've also got, I can't remember. It actually changes so much because, as I say, they're flying out the door and they're only $14. Am I allowed to plug my business?
Absolutely. Right.
They're only $14. So get down to the Rockpool Cafe.
It was intrigues me, the Rockpool Cafe, that I imagine we do ice blocks and chips, as you said.
Yeah.
And then when the schools turn up, my school in case 600 kids smashing your cafe, what do you do? How do you deal with that?
Actually, your school is an onto it one. Actually, they're all onto it now. They stagger them and let them in because A cafe full of 200 girls would not be a pleasant environment for anyone. I think, and we're prepared as well. It's not as if you don't tune up. So yeah, we got all hands on deck and ready to go. Bit of sarcasm on board as well. Yeah.
Not too much if it's a 200 girls.
That's right. I know.
Only very soft pink irony.
Exactly. You got to play to the crowd. Eh?
Yes, that's right. So you have a Rockpool Cafe, and also you still run Delistar Catering,
Yes,
right?
we run it out of the kitchen there.
Yeah, and what is the most common thing in the Delistar at the moment?
I'm doing a lot of day work. I'm fortunate enough to do a lot of funerals for eagers, and so I do a lot of funerals and getting rave reviews for them. So I'm doing a lot of day work, but also my core business is always doing things like degustation meals and stuff like that. Weddings, I used to do a lot of weddings. I've got enough for next season now, so I'm kind of limiting the nighttime work a little bit, which is good.
That's great with the number of caterers in town that you can turn down work.
Yeah. There's a few of us. You know, there's certainly a lot, but I think, you know, like everything in Taranaki, we're pretty blessed with the size we're in. The size that it's big enough but small enough as well, you know. So
yeah, there is enough fish in the pond, I believe, as long as the food is good, because some people don't rise to the kind of a standard. But you've been one of the first caterers before the word caterer became actually a fashionable thing. So I remember 15 years ago when I won the City Award for the best feature for the Festival of Lights, and it was a huge giant kaleidoscope, and I wanted to make an opening for you just to honor people who helped me basically. So we did a revealing, we took the things off, and I thought that we need a food, which was, I was right, and we went to you, you were so accommodating, you gave us a waiter, you just was there. I phoned the last minute, said, can you please come 30 minutes early, and you did, so thank you for that. And so we do have kind of a long-term relations, which we forgot about for 15 years, but it's nice to see you today.
yes, and thank you for that, Olena, and thank you to all my clients, you know, past and present. It's been 15 years now, and it's been a long road, but a great road, and you know, many more to go. I wouldn't do anything but cooking. So,
yeah, that's right. Okay, so let's talk about the recipe of what is oxtail. This is very English, right?
Very
Oxtail
English.
soup.
Yep.
So we have 2 tasters today, maybe 3. Warwick, are you trying the soup today?
I'm not going to say no to those.
It's winter and everyone is trying. Yeah. So this is very English, and
yes.
My sister is married an Englishman. So they talk about food often. They say, "Oh, you Eastern Europeans, you are weird. You eat the beef tongue." And she said, "Oh my gosh, you English are so weird. You eat oxtail." This is how all this banter going in their house. So oxtail soup is probably one of the oldest recipe in the English cuisine. And a lot of people think that English cuisine is quite boring, which I disagree. They have amazing cheeses. They know what to do with their meat. Vegetables are pretty amazing. So where did your recipe for oxtail soup came?
Oh, I'm proud to say it came from my mum. So it came from my mama. This is one of her recipes. Still is, actually. So, and you know, it's all about using the offcuts or the not so popular cuts, which actually ironically are the popular cuts now, and that reflects in the price of these things as well, but well worth the effort. So, yep, the oxtail is that's actually cooked 3 times. I seal it off, just the oxtail on in a hot pan, literally just in a hot pan with a bit of oil.
Produce to develop some caramelization.
Exactly, get a bit of depth in there, a bit of color as well, and then so give it a good browning on the outside, and then along with a few veggies as well, and then the veggies go onto an oven tray like a trivet, and then the oxtail on top of that, quick roasting into the slow cooker, and then that's cooked with more veggie, more garlic, more herbs, and that's slow cooked for not too long, because you want it to be ready, but not to be like a pulled pork. You don't want it to be falling off the bone too much. You want it still to be just on the bone. Anyway, that goes in the slow cooker for about 3 or 4 hours.
So you use pork as well as
no, but you certainly, if you were to do pork in a slow cooker, you could apply that. And then that's cooked, and then It's just pretty much set for the day and over in the fridge overnight. You skim the fat off because, of course, there's lots of fat in the oxtail, which is part of the joy, of course. But you take some of the solid fat off the top, and then you finish the soup off thicken with just a little bit of flour, just to.
Awesome.
So you would never consider serving that without a night in the fridge?
Yeah, you could do it, but I just think that the fat settles too much. I think it'll be a little bit too fatty if it didn't do that. Actually, I've tried it before. It's it leaves a ring of fat around your mouth a bit too much.
Some people like it, some people dislike it.
But there's still plenty of fat left in it the next day, believe me.
Yeah. So your cooking appeals to me because I do blogging, and it started with cooking classes and things like that. So my specialty is ethnic cuisines. So I find the best in different things, and I believe there is a lot of things to discover. And sometimes you find similarities from one culture to another. It is called different, maybe slightly different ingredients, but technique could be the same. So do you use a lot of onion in your oxtail soup?
Oh yeah. So always do a mirepoix, which of course is our diced onion, celery, carrot, garlic.
That's why I always thought that oxtail soup is like an English onion soup, French onion soup.
Yeah.
So with a bit of a meat and with a bit of other vegetables. But I used to cook oxtail soup with a lot of onion, and this is always gives the sweetness of it.
Beautiful. I love onions.
Yeah.
Especially with the caramelization.
Yeah. For the non-chefs, the French word is
mirepoix,
and it's carrot, celery, onion.
Carrot, celery, onion, garlic. All rough cut. Doesn't matter. Generally, with the chowder, it's all nicely rough cut because it's not whizzed up. But with anything that's going to be whizzed up or combined, it can be rough. But yes, it's the base of the sauce. Mirepoix, I believe in French, is humble beginnings. So there you go.
Wow.
So it's the base for soup.
It sounds very fancy in French, mirepoix, but actually translation is very humble.
Yeah, just humble.
So I've noticed that Warwick stopped eating because he starts talking.
Well, I'll tell you why I stopped eating, because my mother's soup recipe, it's actually my grandmother's soup recipe, is split pea and ham, and I always put some vegetables in as well. So I made that today. I usually only make it once a year. I make a massive stock pot of it, and I made it today, and I'm full. So that's why I've not had much soup.
So how was the soup for you? What did you try today, Warwick?
The family recipe is...
No, I mean today in the studio.
Oh, sorry.
It's your work.
It's bacon hock, split pea. You can use green or yellow. I always put some pearl barley in, celery, carrots, pepper, garlic, and maybe I've forgotten something, and then you just cook it for 2 or 3 hours. It's always better the next day because it coalesces into a silky, smooth soup. But that's been passed down to my dad. He makes it, I make it, my sister makes it. But on to your soups.
But I love it how you had pepper quite high up on the list, Warwick, which is great for me. I'm a great fan of pepper, and I think it gets overlooked a lot.
And barley also gives a very interesting texture to the soup.
Yeah.
Again, the silkiness sometimes comes from this grain.
And I find when you're cooking things, for example, a soup or stuff, season at the beginning. We're always taught as chefs not to season at the beginning because you do it at the end. But if you're sweating stuff off and you add a bit of salt in it, it's going to change the flavour dramatically, and it's going to bring out all the natural stuff. And as you know, salt brings out moisture, and so it's going to enhance it, as long as you don't over season.
Yeah. And that's what our grandparents taught us, and there's nothing wrong about cooking like it used to be in the kitchens, ovens.
I've never thought about that until you mentioned it, but I use black pepper, ground black pepper at the start, and then when it's served, I use white pepper.
It is a little bit of a hint for Chef Warwick. So, what soup did you try from Jamie Phillips today, Warwick?
I'm going to try and sneak one of them home. I tried them both. The veggie
chowder.
And I make chowder, but I can't get it so slick as that. It's just so creamy.
It's tricky with seafood's a gimme. For me, it is anyway, because you add the dill and the seafood, and that's like bang. So veggie chowder's a bit more technical. Yeah. So it's pretty much just a light bechamel, very light bechamel.
Oh, you use cheese in it.
Or cream.
No, not cheese. No, not Mornay, but just my wife put so much cheese in it at the end, and it's incredible. It makes it all stretchy. But anyway, that's a whole different story. Yeah, it's just a very light vegetable, but it's got a load of veggies in it, and it's all sweated off at the beginnings. Like for example, the mushrooms are tiny, and I've just been sweating. And so all I did for that one is blob of butter, chuck your fancy mirepoix in this time, so nicely diced because you're not going to whiz it up. Corn, of course, mushrooms, things like that. Give that such a good sweat down for 20 minutes and potato as well. So when the little cubes of potato are cooked, that's when you start finishing it off. So it's all just veggie sweat down, and then you add a little bit of flour to that, add the milk, and you're making a nice light bechamel to go with it. Yeah, but the flavour's all in that first initial sweating process.
You must have used full blue milk in there.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And finish with cream. Cream, brother. Yeah.
I thought you had to. It was cream.
Yeah, I sneak a bit of cream in there.
So the oxtail, are we talking about that?
Yes.
Yep. So I love the unfashionable meats like the beef cheeks, and how you said they've come back. And what that presented to me was just richness, again, silky smooth, very complex because you described it's been cooked several times and waited for a day and so on. So the flavors have really come out. So that's delicious, very rich. I wouldn't be having 5 or 6 cups of it.
Not exactly.
But it's fine. Yeah, very nice.
You're already fantasizing about it.
And I am blushing. Thank you, Warwick. We've got a bromance going on.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm sorry to intrude, but I will. So we have a professional reviewer, food reviewer in the studio. So Nathan Griffith is our social media manager, and he's a leader of the group of the food reviewers. He's going to talk to us about your flavor profile.
That's a great word. Totally, really tasty. So this is a dish that, for me, every mouthful is full of flavor, and I can enjoy the entire dish. And I also look forward to each bite. It's a great way to eat vegetables. Every mouthful, I'm thinking, oh, am I going to get some celery? Am I going to get another potato? And all the vegetables are just completely saturated with that broth, and it makes it taste real good. It's satisfying. It makes me feel warm inside. That's the sensation I get is from this type of food. It's warm.
This was vegetable chowder from Jamie Phillips. This is amazing. So yes, vegetables is an interesting topic because nowadays a lot of kids don't eat vegetables, and making them a desirable thing is really cool. Also, I've noticed as a blogger, it's very hard to make soup looking good because it's basically a puddle of something. There's things in it, but in general it's a puddle. Yeah, so making, but I look at your soup, and there are those vegetables are like little jewels in a like a milk and honey river. So it's
I like that. Thank you.
Yeah, I need to come and review your food. So
I'd love you to anytime.
Speaking of soup, in the Anthony Bourdain book, he's turned on to food by Veggie Chow, which I don't think I've ever tried. So I was looking up on the internet. I was going to make it this weekend, but I didn't get around to it. Do you have you made Veggie Chow?
Yes. So it's a soup that can be served hot or cold, of course. And of course, Anthony Bourdain mentioned in his first chapter, I think, how he discovered his passion when he tried this cold soup, and it was
7-year-old.
As a 7-year-old on the train to Paris.
That's right. Yeah.
And so he was quite intrigued with this fish. So it's a leek and potato soup, served hot or cold. I believe I've only really done the same recipe for both, but of course with the cold one you need it not so thick. Just because when things are cold, they do thicken anyway. Like, as you know, when you soup, you leave it in the fridge, it's thicker the next day, and you're like, wow, it's not that thick.
Sometimes Jenny fries happens with boiled.
Yeah, so I think generally the same, as long as it's got a good chicken stock, always chicken stock, and unless you're a vegetarian, of course, vegetarian stock, you get some good vegetarian stocks off the shelf these days. The Campbell's and all that sort of which are made with care. It's quite tricky to do your own veggie stock. So yes, so you fish as far, yeah, hot or cold beef and
Classic,
potato soup. Classic.
I'm going to give it a go.
And of course, there's gazpacho as well, which is quite a famous.
Oh, I love gazpacho soups. Yeah, I have a kid's childhood trauma. I'm not really huge on soups because I was made to eat soups. In our culture, in Russian culture, it's supposed to be a good thing. If you eat soup, you're supposed to look after your health and other things. Bullshit.
I think you say borscht, then they say bullshit.
Bullshit. Yeah, but and I used to hate certain products, but now when I grew old, I started to appreciate the masterful skills that go in it, and sometimes I realized that so much things are happening in the dish that you can't really ignore it. You have to honor it in so many different ways. So yes, we are about to wrap up. And we're going to say a few words from our sponsor. Is there anything happening in your life or in your business that you would like to talk about? New menus or events happening?
No, just come and see us at the Rockpool. Say you heard the show, and I don't know, I'll give you something. A smile, at least.
A joke from Jamie.
Exactly. And we guarantee it's not a good one. We've alluded to that earlier on.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, and thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure, and it's a real flashback. And yeah, I've blushed a couple of times from what's been said and all that. So thank you. It's really appreciated. It's nice
We
to be
can't
appreciated.
wrap up yet because we haven't mentioned Julia Child.
All right.
Oh,
Tell
Now,
us.
Julia Child, what she brought to cooking for me as a child was when she was one of the only celebrity chefs on the 2 stations we had on TV back in those days. And what she brought to me was a French style of cooking that she was trained in, is classical cooking, skilled, and absolutely true to the origins of the style. So no messing with that and messing with that, just textbook. And yeah, I love those Julia Child shows.
We didn't even touch on the topic of how Jamie cooked for Prime Minister and All Blacks and other things. I think it's a topic for the next show,
Alright.
whenever we have him again. So a message from our sponsors, Area 41. Please go and visit them. They were supporters of our show from the very, very beginning, and he was always so accommodative and supportive. So check their menus, check their website, check their socials, because they have beautiful photographs. And please say that you've heard about them on the radio. Thank you for listening to us today. And we are Olena Williams and Warwick Foy, our foodies, your local broadcasters. And we had an epic guest today, Jamie Phillips from Delistar and Rockpool Cafe. And we are going to listen to some of the cheesy songs that Warwick prepared for us.
Well, that's not quite true today. The first one is I think it might be your choice, Jamie. It's Lee Scratchberry.
That's me.
Final selection roast fish and cornbread, which we could not call that cheesy.
Not cheesy. There is no cheese in the recipe.
There's no cheese. And I threw in something that I just came across today, which is called I Want to Lose Control Up-Oh by Death Ray, which is just a real good rocky song.